Hello, everyone. We are joining here for the 2024 report card on the health of the Mesoamerican Reef. During this webinar, we are going to talk about the report card highlights, which includes both hope and urgency regarding the Mesoamerican Reef health. Well, the percentage of monitored sites in the fair and good condition has increased. 62% still remain in poor and critical states. Improvements outpace declines across the regions, yet none are classified as being in good condition, and two remain critical, underscoring the reef's fragile state amid growing threats. Some of our tips that we're gonna do, we give you during our webinar is for you that we have interpretation. So please go into the Zoom controls and click the interpretation symbol. Select the language that you would like to hear. We have a Spanish interpretation. If you would like to hear in English, you can continue in the original language. And to hear the interpretation, click language only, click on the mute original audio also. And so you will also only listen to the language you want to hear. Some other basic rules will be we have a space for learning and respect. Our microphones and cameras will be deactivated during all the webinar. Please write your name and country and organization in the chat. And if you have any questions, we will use the space from the chat and also from the Zoom. And we also have participation from the Facebook Live. So if you have any questions, please place your questions in the section of comments on the Facebook. Your questions will be sent to the panelists, and they will be answered at the end of the presentation. So welcome once again for joining us on our 28th session of Marphone webinar series. Its title is the 2024 report card on the health of the Mesoamerican Reef. And our panelist is Ms. Melanie McField. Melanie is the founder and director of Healthy Reefs for Healthy People, developing the first coral reef report card. She's been immersed in the Mesoamerican Reef since 1990 with the Whole Chan Marine Reserve, followed by the World Wildlife Fund and Smithsonian Institution, where she published more than 50 research papers and mentored 14 graduate students. She also received several awards, including the 2021 Conservation Award from the International Coral Reef Society. Melina Soto. Melina is the Mexico coordinator for Healthy Reefs for Healthy People, based in Puerto Morelos in Quintana Roo. With over 20 years of experience in the Mexican Caribbean, she connects partners, organizes collaborative activities, and leads projects focused on coral reef conservation and community engagement. Melina holds master's in marine biology from the UNAM and has experience in water quality, reef restoration, and public policy advocacy. Ana Gino. Ana is the Guatemalan coordinator and has been with Healthy Reef for Healthy People for 13 years. With over 20 years of experience, she has led reef explorations, reef health monitoring, and mapping efforts on Guatemala's Caribbean coast. Ana has worked extensively on conservation actions across the mar, participating in multi-institutional initiatives to monitor and protect its ecosystems, like the Reef Restoration and Sustainable Fisheries Network. She has also shared her knowledge as a professor at the Center for Marine Studies, University of San Carlos of Guatemala, inspiring future conservationists. Her journey is marked by innovation and commitment and a profound love for coral reefs. Claudia Guerrero. Claudia joined the staff of Healthy Reefs as coordinator in Honduras in September 2022, implementing scientific tools at the service of people linked to the sea in the different advocacy spaces, strengthening the networks of authorities, non-governmental organizations, the scientific community, and the population. She is an instructor for post-storm reef response brigades, an initiative promoted for the Mesoamerican Reef System region by the Mar Fund and the Nature Conservancy, forming part of the Brigade Committee of the Bay Islands Marine National Park as Deputy Coordinator. Rafael Martinez. Rafael is currently serving as the Belize Country Coordinator for Healthy Reef for Healthy People. His academic background includes a bachelor's degree in natural resource management from the University of Belize and a master's degree in disaster risk management and climate governance from Isabella First Private University in Spain. His professional journey includes a significant tenure as the reserve manager at Glover's Reef Marine Reserve. He has engaged in various specialized training programs, including stony coral tissue loss disease monitoring and treatment, seaweed cultivation, rapid response and emergency reef restoration, and agri-fish surveyor training, among others. Beyond his professional achievements, he holds a license as a boat captain and is an enthusiastic diver. His deep commitment to environmental conservation has been a lifelong driving force, and he's thrilled to be a valued member of the Healthy Reef for Healthy People team. And we have Israel Muñiz. Israel is the Marine Science Officer at the Healthy Reef for Healthy People team and a marine ecologist specializing in spatial temporal changes in tropical marine ecosystem. He has expertise in ecological data analysis, GIS, coral reef field methods, and statistical analysis, focusing on drivers of change, ecological risk, and coral reef conservation. He holds a PhD in marine sciences and has conducted extensive research on coral reef ecology and conservation, with more than a dozen scientific papers published and reviewed in journals like PLOS One, Frontiers in Marine Science, and Communication, Earth and Environment. So these are our panelists, and this is more information if you want to have later on the webinar. So we're gonna give now our time to our panelists.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So let me get the presentation loaded, make sure everyone can see it. How does that, are you seeing it yet? Okay. Okay, there we go. Full screen presentation mode. Thank you all for coming. I know many of you, we heard from a number of people in the region that were not able to make the individual launch events that we had at the very end of October. So we did launch the report card with country-based events, and I was at the COP16 in Cali, Colombia. And so it was a big flurry of activity right at the end of October, but I know some people weren't able to come, so we're really thankful to MarFund to give us this opportunity to reach out to more people and make it available to be able to talk directly to us and hear from us about what we found in this 2024 report card. So it was a large effort. 286 sites are included in this report card, involving 99 different data collectors across the 4 countries, and they work with 41 different organizations. So those are the people who we have to thank for actually getting in the water and collecting this data. So that's what actually makes it all happen. And the area we're talking about is, of course, the Mesoamerican Reef, these 4 countries of Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, sharing this large coral reef ecosystem that also includes linked and interdependent seagrass beds, extensive mangroves, and other wetland systems. These different ecosystems work together to provide the ecosystem services that are now really being looked at for in terms of potential biodiversity credits and ways of mitigating climate change. Also, we recognize the cultural and historical value of the reef and the fisheries into this region. The current economic value was estimated, well, a few years ago now, it was 4.5 billion per year as the value of this entire region's reef ecosystem. But it's important to note that you could lose like 3.1 million a year of that through loss of ecosystem health, and you could gain about 2.5 million a year more by improving the health. So I think it's really important to like note that we can put some values on this reef system and make an attempt to show why this monitoring of the reef health and continuing to track it and work together on this large scale is really so important. Here's who we are. You heard lots of bios, so it's enough about the team, but the larger group is the partnership. So this was the partner meeting in Honduras in March, and where we got together to go over the report card, look at the data, and come up with our main themes and the things that you'll see today in the talk. So our vision, though, as Healthy Reefs for Healthy People, we came up with a new vision statement, which is developing a thriving and healthy marine ecosystem where well-informed and influential reefs shareholders are actively engaged in safeguarding this valuable natural asset. And here's all the logos that we share for the partners in this Healthy Reefs initiative. And this has grown over the years from, I guess, in like 2005, at the very beginning, there were about 6 partners. And now it's over 70 partners within the Healthy Reefs initiative. And over that time, we have produced, this is the 8th report card in the series. So it's been 20 years of reef health monitoring and reporting. We started with this reef health guide to indicators of reef health that really explains the kind of science behind and the concepts behind how you can evaluate reef health. So if anybody's kind of new to this and hasn't looked at that, I encourage you to look on our website, and you can still download that book that really describes the concepts behind this, the theories. But within the report card itself, we are basing the reef health on coral cover, fleshy macroalgae cover, herbivorous fish biomass, and commercial fish biomass. So these are the 4 fundamental indicators that we use to rank reef health. And each of them have a standardized ranking for a threshold value for what is conceived as very good, good, fair, poor, or critical. Those 4 are equally counted, and then you get the reef health index. And that enables you to like have a number similar to the Dow Jones average that you have for the stock market. And it enables track on the whole scale of the Mesoamerican Reef, overall, how are we doing? And we can see that in 2006, we started with 2.3 out of 5. So that's kind of less than half of what you would hope to have. It's considered poor. The orange color is poor. You can see that over there on the Reef Health Index grading scale. But we did increase slowly up into 2014. We ended up at 2.8, and that was ranked fair. And we held there for a little while, and then we slowed down again. We kind of degraded back down to 2021 with the 2.3 back where we started, which was frustrating. But the good news is this report card has measured a slight increase. So it is back to 2.5, so headed at least back in hopefully the right direction. So you can see these are the 4 indicators that we went over before. And the 2 of them, coral cover and herbivorous fish, are in fair condition now. The other 2 are in poor. And the overall score is poor. And you can also look at that breakdown by country and see that there's a lot more variability in Guatemala and Honduras in terms of the 4 indicators going from critical to good in those countries. Of course, everyone wants to look at individual sites and where your park is or where your favorite reef is, and you can do that with this, but you see that also it's highly variable in many of these locations where you can have like a good site or a fair site right next to some poor and critical sites. But it's good to also consolidate those numbers, all the different sites, and kind of round it up to the scale of the subregions. So these subregions are, a collection of the number of different sites in different depths inside and outside of protected areas normally, and it gives you a much better average composition of the reef health. So looking at a site-by-site basis, there's just always a lot of variability, but on the scale of these subregions, I think it makes a lot more sense, and you can see the actual intervention of management and MPAs, such as Glover's had the highest increase this year, and that is the whole subregion is actually an MPA. The same with Cozumel, which is also an MPA, but because it has traditionally had the highest score, it actually had the largest decrease this year from going from good to fair. Herbivorous fish overall with the indicator with the highest ranking, getting a very good score for 4 subregions, which is fantastic, and a good score in another 4 subregions. And fleshy macroalgae just continues to be a persistent problem, and it was classified in critical in 14 of the subregions. So that's a big problem. And you can look at the map there and see, like, for particular subregions, some of the main changes that we saw just from 2021 to 2023. Looking at the actual data on the table, I think you can, like, if you look over here at this left-hand side, you can see the Reef Health Index, again, color-coded by, the scores, the grades. So the green is good, and the yellow is fair, and the orange is poor. And you can see that, like, Cozumel had been consistently the good category that just recently went down. We have a lot more variability in some areas, going from good to fair to critical back to good, which is interesting. And then other areas that have kind of stayed consistent across the whole time. For this report card, you can see what the actual numbers are for the subregion, and you can see the number of sites that contain. So it is variable, and they are, differences in the amount of reef that is in each of these subregions. They're not exactly the same size. They're kind of more biogeographic zones. And then you can also look at the percent of the reef within that subregion that is fully protected. Overall, this year it was good news. We had more improvements than declines when we look at it on the subregion basis. A lot more, 8 of them improved versus 2 declines. So that's very good news. I do need to call your attention to this because I know a lot of you actually have the printed copies. So the PDF online is corrected, but we did realize after printing that there was a mistake, that this column is exactly the same as the last report card. It didn't get updated somehow. So unfortunately, this you can see, these are the numbers that changed, and it's in the online supplement. And we really encourage everyone to download that online supplement because it has a lot of good information, additional scientific analyses and reporting in that. But please do be aware that these numbers, you should change them on your printed copy and look at the online PDF and also the supplement. So just finally, I'll go over I like to look at the 4 indicators individually over time and by country. And so this is how we can do it. You'll be seeing the 4 graphs. Mexico is in purple, Belize is in green, Guatemala in pink, Honduras in brown. And that little legend, if you forget those colors, is right over here under the photo. So this is coral cover. That's what we want to see, a lot of coral there. And you can see how it's tracked over time in each of the countries. And generally, we've been increasing until this last period. And we have shown a small decrease, and we know that that's due to the stony coral tissue loss disease and the bleaching that has been very bad in the last couple of years. For fleshy macroalgae, this has again been one of our most persistently bad and poor, even critical indicators. And for all the countries, it is almost in the critical zone, and a couple of them are in the critical zone, and it has inched up and then leveled off kind of over time. So it's one that we are struggling to, you need to look at both top down and bottom up ways of intervening with this. One being through herbivores, and this is a good sign. We have actually been able to increase the biomass of herbivorous fish. We have parrotfish now protected in the 4 countries. Only the coastal parts of Honduras are not yet protected. And so we feel like we are seeing, like, we had a glitch with COVID and maybe lack of enforcement and just necessity to fish for food. But now it looks like things are headed back in the right direction, and hopefully that will lead to there's a time lag to get the effect into the macroalgae, but it could hopefully will lead to a little less macroalgae on the reef. Of course, we also need to work on nutrients. But finally, the commercial fish, this is the one that we use as a proxy for the fishing overall. It's just snappers and groupers, but they are the most targeted of the species. And we've tracked them over the years, and numbers have declined in general, but it's not the last year from the 2021 to 2023, we did see an increase, and that's due to Belize, to this sharp increase that kind of went back to where it had been before what we are calling kind of the COVID glitch or blurb from lack of enforcement and just, not having tourism and having more need to fish on the reef and maybe not abiding by all the regulations. So that was the overview for the reef health big picture. And now we're going to go, and I'm going to hand it over to who will go into the threats and initiatives. And then I think he's going to take over from Melina because she had to get on the bus and go to a meeting. So, Israel.
Yeah, thanks, Mel. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, it's good.
Great. So, well, I must warn you that some of this information is kind of depressing, but I promise to end with a message of hope. And well, the first issue,
Sorry.
No, thank you. Hi. Okay. Well, water quality is the first issue, and this is an important stressor in the region. During 2022, a huge effort brought together almost 20 partners across 3 of the 4 countries to monitor 13 parameters at 90 sites from reefs to lagoons, including control sites where we expected minimal pollution. And in total, we collected close to 32,000 data points. And the findings were alarming. We observed regular to poor nutrient levels across the region and driving macroalgae growth and impeding coral recovery. Only 3 of the 9 sites were classified as not degraded, and 64 of our samples showed poor oxygen levels. Additionally, 74% of the samples, including controls, showed the presence of human pathogens, with 17% exceeding acceptable coliform levels under Cartagena and the non-001 standards. And well, these results underscore the urgent need to address pollution and its sources. Next one. Then I'm going to talk about coral bleaching. And well, the 2023 coral bleaching event was unprecedented. It was a record-breaking stress event with degree heating weeks almost averaging 16. That's pretty high. And as you can see in the animations, the maps shows the degree heating weeks values, and the dark red, brown, and purple colors are the higher values in the 2023. And this exposure was widespread across the region, affecting all the reefs. We observed that 40% of the corals presented severe affectation. And well, in places like Cordelia and Honduras, coral cover plummeted from 46% to just 5% of coral cover. That's pretty sad. And well, the south of the Mar, especially in Belize, Guatemala, and the Gulf of Honduras, is the most affected regions. Next, please. No. Okay, now I'm going to talk about coral disease. And coral disease is one of the most significant threats in the Mar and in the Caribbean, and particularly the stony coral tissue loss disease. So this disease has decimated coral population, especially large and slow-growing species. For instance, pillar corals, Dendrogyra cylindrus, have been nearly eradicated along all of our countries, and we observed that 3 out of 4 colonies were affected with this disease during 2023. And as you can see in the map, this disease affected Baco chinchorro during the monitoring season and was pretty active with really high prevalence values. While areas like southern Belize and Guatemala have so far avoided the stony coral tissue loss disease, the risk remains high with other diseases such as white band and other. So we need proactive measures to safeguard remaining coral populations. And then we're going to talk a little bit about marine protected areas. And well, these are powerful tools for conserving marine research, but they need adequate resources for enforcement and management. And currently, we only have 3% of the MAR territorial waters and 11% of our reefs under full protection. So we need to grow this number. We need more fully protected areas. And as you can see in the plots, we see clear benefits in fully protected zones. So, for example, the commercial fish presented a really a higher biomass in fully protected areas compared with the other polygons that could be highly protected, general use zone, or not protected. And this is the same pattern in the case of the beaver fish. Next slide, please, Mark. Well, however, even when fully protected areas could protect our fish biomass, most individuals remain too small to reproduce. We are losing our big mamas. And well, in the case of groupers and snipers, we observed that nasal grouper is the only species with regional size and seasonal restriction, and this show promising signs of recovery, as you can see in the plot, with almost 44% of mature individuals, and some nice values too in the case of the dog naper, but all the other species are in bad condition, and most of them can reproduce right now. Next, please. Well, now I'm gonna change my tone to more positive things, and we're gonna talk about restoration efforts. So, in the case of the restoration of corals, we have a lot of initiative right now, and the Mar region is a hotspot for restoration initiative, with over 20 projects employing innovative techniques like assisted reproduction and cryopreservation. Some example of this is the NAM in Corallium Lab, the Corallium Lab. And this complements traditional methods such as fragmentation and microfragmentation. All of the projects work right now with branching corals like Acropora palmata and Acropora cervicornis, and less than 20% of these efforts target slow-growing and massive coral species such as Orbicelas. But both of these groups of coral species are critical for reef stability and complexity. So additionally, all projects depend heavily on philanthropy right now. So these underscore the need for sustainable funding models in the future. And well, as you already saw, excessive macroalgae now cover 20% of reefs in the region, displacing corals and reducing biodiversity. So the restoration of herbivory is pretty important. Right now, all 4 countries protect parrotfish through fishing regulations, and we actually have the introduction of herbivores like parrotfish and king crabs. And we have made significant strides in the captive breeding of herbivores like king crabs in Mexico in collaboration with INIPAS. As you can see in the slide, we already have the complete cycle. So that's pretty nice. And we are working in Belize and Honduras too. Okay, now we're going to focus on the country-specific insights, including some results about the MarFish project. Next, please. And well, the MarFish project focuses on sentinel sites near fish spawning aggregation, sites critical habitats for ensuring healthy fish population. And we're going to show you some of the results that we have in the case of the 2021 and 2023 monitoring efforts. As you can see in the map, we have some of the sentinel sites are the yellow points in the map. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this in each of the countries. Next, please. Okay, well, before I continue, I would like to take a moment to thank the incredible field teams. And together, in the case of Mexico, we have surveyed 70 sites collaborating with 9 MPAs. All of this thanks to the 47 individuals from 18 organizations who made this possible. And all of you are the or the backbone of this work. So thank you very much for this. Next slide, please. Well, in the case of Mexico, the results are particularly concerning, especially because Cozumel was a subregion with consistent good values across time. But Cozumel has recorded the largest decline of the entire region, with its root health index dropping from 3.8, which was considered good, to 3. That's fair. And well, this is a decline that reflects the impacts of coral bleaching and the stone coral tissue loss disease, which are severely affecting the corals that form the reef structure in the region, and especially in the country. Another interesting thing is that we observed a higher regular rating in the northern part of Quintana Roo, mainly because the presence of the famous limon site, which is already starting to show some sign of damage, and Cuevones. This is another good site in the northern part of Quintana Roo. Both of them are under full protection right now. And another interesting subregion is Banco Chinchorro, with a regular health index of 3, is today one of the sites with the highest coral cover and the highest biomass of commercial and herbivorous fish. Next slide, please. Well, in the case of Mexico, we observed mixed results concerning the status and the change of the sentinel sites considered in the Marfish project, as you can see in the tables. In the table in your left side, you can see the repeated monitoring sites in 2021 and 2023. And in the case of these 3 sites, we observed conditions ranging from fair to critical. So we have some mixed results. And it's the same case in 2023. We have some sites with poor conditions, some other with critical, and some of them with fair. Next, please. Some bad news is that right now in Mexico, the macroalgae dominate our reefs. As you can see in this nice quadrant that shows the percentage of different algae groups, you can see that the flechic macroalgae cover almost 20% of the benthic cover. The tube algae represent the 30% and cyanobacteria with 5%. And well, coral cover is just 30% with minimal representation of key reef building like branching and massive corals. So that's bad news. And well, the fish biomass has increased, but 80% of the nearly 26,000 fish recorded are under 20 centimeters. So most of the fish are pretty small right now in Mexico. And most growers are too small to reproduce. So these trends threaten essential reef service like coastal protection and fisheries sustainability. So over time, we have been seeing some positive trends, as you can see in this. For example, we have a considerable increase in the case of herbivorous fish biomass, almost 30% of increase in this group. And coral cover and commercial fish biomass remain stable. However, the coral cover could be lower now because of the potential negative effect of the 2023 bleaching event. So we need to look at the data in the next year. The next slide, please, now. Well, the challenge, there are success stories or stories of hope. And we have this from mangrove restoration to coral assisted reproduction working. We have now a lot of groups working on these topics from local communities, NGOs, governments, and university are coming together to drive meaningful restoration efforts. And all these initiatives prove that collaboration and innovation can yield tangible and positive results. And well, we have hope, and the hope is mostly in the people that want to work in a reef. And well, now we're going to talk about berries, and Rafa, it's your turn.
All right, sorry about that, everyone. So just to continue, in Belize, we surveyed a total of 110 sites across 9 of the marine protected areas. We had a total of 23 surveyors from 7 organizations, as shown in the list right here. To the next slide.
Now it's not going forward. Okay, there we are.
All right. So over the last 8 years, Belize has received scores of fair, pre-COVID, and poor post-COVID. However, we've seen a silver lining when it came to this year's score, which saw an improvement from 2.0 to 2.5. Largely due to an increase in the herbivorous fish biomass and the commercial fish biomass. So 4 of those 6 subregions showed an improved overall score in 2023. 1 remained the same and 1 experienced a slight decrease, being the Central Barrier. 5 of the 6 subregions, we saw an increase in herbivorous fish biomass, while commercial fish biomass increased across all 6 of the subregions. In terms of coral cover, 3 subregions showed an increase. 1 remained the same and 2 saw a decrease. The Northern Barrier and Central Barrier experienced the largest decrease from 21% in 2021 to 8% in 2023, and from 27% to 15% respectively. Additionally, 4 of the 6 subregions showed improved numbers in fleshy macroalgae cover, but these numbers are still not great, right? Still could be improved. It's important to note that the stony coral tissue loss disease, as mentioned before by Israel, like this particularly impacted the northern and central regions of the country the hardest. Go to the other slide. Yeah, so overall, Belize saw an improved score from 2.0 to 2.5. All right, commercial fish biomass increased 140% compared to 2021, but remains poor. Herbivorous fish biomass increased 93% and is now fair compared to 2021. And coral cover saw a relative decline of 17% compared to 2021 numbers. Right. At our partner meeting, we identified same slide. We identified 5 pillars that kind of supported this increase, being enforcement, compliance, education, political will, and funding. Right, enforcement ensures regulations are upheld to protect marine life. Compliance fosters adherence to guidelines, promoting sustainable practices and reducing ecosystem harm. Education that empowers communities with knowledge, encouraging stewardship and long-term support. Political will that is crucial for implementing policies and allocating resources. And then, of course, funding, which provides the necessary financial support for ongoing protection, research, and restoration efforts. And we are hopeful that there is still room for further improvements. Next slide now. Over time, we could look at trends within these 4 indicators and identify areas where additional efforts can be made, right? Such as reducing macroalgae and improving coral cover, right? As we mentioned from the numbers from 2021 to 2023, we can see that increase in herbivorous fish and commercial fish biomass for the country. And then next slide. And as part of the Marfish project, we compared sentinel sites and observed an increase in 5 that we could track from 2021 that were similar sites. And in total, we surveyed a total of 15 sites near these fish spawning aggregation, as you can see right there in the table to the right? Right, so stories of hope for the country. In our partner meeting, we identified we being partners of the Belize Coral of Healthy Reefs and the Belize National Coral Reef Network. And we identified Belize prioritized the protection of marine ecosystem by saying no to oil drilling, which requires a public referendum. And then, of course, the people-centric agenda that Belize pledges to triple its protection of reefs from 7 to 20% and expanding the high protection zone, designating 30% of the sea in high protection zone by 2030. Right. We've also enhanced protection of mangroves, declaring them reserves within World Heritage sites, and it's currently being within the Sustainable Ocean Plan that's under development right now. Yeah. Now I pass it on to Anna.
Yeah, thank you, Rafa. So I'm going to be talking about Guatemala. So first of all, thank you for the incredible monitoring team. This is our team of great people and organizations that help us do monitor in the country. So next slide, please now. So for Guatemala, we monitor a total of 7 sites, and there you can see, I'm going to talk about this in the next slide, but you can see how the changes of the 2 monitoring periods. But if you go to the next one, I want to show you the changes over time between the 3 last monitoring periods. So we see that the Reef Health Index, so being the 4 indicators that Melanie mentioned at the beginning, improved. So we have more herbivorous fish and less macroalgae on our reefs. If you see the graphs from 2016, and then we went from being a poor condition to 2021 being in critical condition, and then back to poor condition for the monitoring period of 2023. And this was mostly due to we have a good coral cover. As you can see, it's all green. If you see, the 4 main indicators are around the Reef Health Index graph. And then what we saw was an increase in herbivorous fish and a decrease in macroalgae. So we had a 25% coral cover for the last monitoring period in 2023. We have 26% of macroalgae cover. And then the biomass of commercial fish remains in really poor conditions. On this indicator, we want to work more to bring it up. And the biomass of herbivorous fish, it still remains in poor condition, but it went from being too critical to poor. And next slide, please, Melanie. So for the Marfish project, as Isra was telling you, we had to monitor we monitor agra sites around the fish spawning aggregations. So we monitor reef health around this spawning aggregations, which are really important across the Mesoamerican Reef. And for Guatemala, we monitor 4 sites. We did this monitoring in 2021 and then in 2023. And what we saw from these 4 sites is that they all had an increase. And this was mostly due to the fact, as I mentioned in my previous slide, that we had more herbivorous fish and less macroalgae on the sites. And so this is what we've seen in these sites. So during our partners meeting, we wanted to see what to highlight for the country. And our partners decided that we needed to highlight this slide. So it's basically the connectivity from the basin to the reef is vital for the health of the ecosystems. So in Guatemala, we have 3 major rivers that run through the Caribbean side. So this is really important as well. Also prevent unsustainable fishing practices, improve coral, close fishing periods, especially for groupers and snappers, improve governance, institutional strengthening as well, ensure clean water for human consumption and for reefs, reduce pollution from wastewater discharges, and address unreported and unregulated transboundary fishing. And so next slide, please, Annie. And then for the stories of hope for Guatemala, we decided we had a lot of stories, but we decided to choose these 2, our partners. We all decided this. And first of all, it was the 18 years of maintaining a closed season calendar for fishing. So we have had 18 years in Guatemala that has maintained this closure for several species. So this is crucial for maintaining sustainable fishing practices, but also I wanted to highlight that the fishing calendar is done jointly with the group of fishermen in the Caribbean. And also the reefs and the mangroves are now included in the Guatemala's nationally determined contribution. So this is vital because it gives us a say within the country. So it highlights the importance of having healthy reefs and also good mangrove cover as well. So I'm passing on to Claudia for Honduras.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you for being part of this webinar today. So first of all, I want to thank the 24 surveys from 11 organizations to help us to collect data in 99 sites in Honduras. We have 7 marine protecting areas that we're monitoring and 4 no-take zones that are outside protecting areas. So thank you to everybody, and the people that wasn't in the water also helped to make this happen. So we are really grateful. So this is how it looks. I just want to clarify that in Cordelia Banks in Roatan, even we did collect the data in the same period of time, the rest of the country, we saw the bleaching event happening late during 2023. So this data is no longer the exact reality of that area. So in the first survey, we have 46% of coral cover. And now in the second survey that we did in this year, 2024, we only have 5% of coral cover. So it's a massive loss that we experienced with this bleaching event last year. So even in this map all the coral cover looks like in very good conditions or good conditions. It doesn't longer as part of the reality. And so yes, next slide. And for the main numbers in Honduras, we just wanted to point out that we still have swamp islands as part of one of the ecoregions, but we haven't been able to go and do surveys there. But it's very important for us at some point, and hopefully we can do it next year, to go there and collect data, because it's one of the reef fully protected zone that is 100% protected. So it's very important for the entire MAR to have these swamp islands information in place, and that way we can also protect what we have there. I wanted to add also that in the west coast of Honduras, now we have included other sites like Cuero y Salado and Puerto Cortés that we didn't have data before. So that's why we see a little bit of increase of the reef health index, and also point out that Tela Bay suffered a lot with this bleaching event, and that is one of the main reasons that the index dropped from 2.3 to 1.8. So it's very important to be aware that even not all of the reef in Tela were monitoring, because we have reef outside of the bay. It did happen, a lot of damage for the bleaching inside the bay. So hopefully next year we also will be able to go and monitoring those reefs outside the bay. Next slide, please. And as a part of the Marfish project, we also monitoring sites in Roatan mostly, and most of the sites are, well, it's a mix actually of decrease and increase the index of these sites. So we have in Cordelia Banks, with this actually is no longer the reality, because they will be increased to the bleaching event, and then probably we need to update this information at some point. But yeah, and then for the 4 indicators, we have this graphic, and we can see the development of this information in a longer period of time. And we still have the fish, commercial fish biomass really low. So we still need to work on this matter. And then also coral cover, we have more sites now that we are monitoring. So we still need to keep working and see other reef that we haven't been able to monitoring. Next one. So for Honduras, in the live cover have decreased in 30%. The freshy macroalgae is also have a small decrease. And then the herbivorous fish is having the West Coast increase at 10%. And then in the Bay Islands, it have decreased in 80%. We're still not sure what was the reason of this, because the herbivorous fish has been protected in the Bay Islands for a very long period of time. So there's something we need to talk to the co-management and see what happening. Why is this decrease happening? And for the commercial fish biomass, Guanaja is now double the amount, unlike Cayos cochinos that have decreased this fish biomass. We believe because now the pandemic is over and the tourism is back, places like Cayos cochinos, they have like way more people going into the marine protecting area are now eating more fish, because that's one of the main things when you go to Cayos cochinos. That's one of the reasons that the commercial fish biomass have decreased. And well, yeah, there's other things that we need to talk and discuss how to lower the pressure of fishing in Cayos cochinos. And then in general, 5% of our sites, previous one, 5% of our sites is in good condition, 40% is in poor conditions, and in critical, we have 20% of the sites. So we need to take actions. We need to strengthen the government capacity to monitor and patrol and enforce regulation, especially for fisheries. Then we need to increase for on-site data collection, particularly in remote areas like swamp islands. Also promote and formalize the application of the technical standard for marine water quality, and also monitoring and do audits of this water sanitation, not just for the private companies, but the entire country. And also establish a functional research permit process with the government agencies. That way we can do things legally and all of us follow the same progress. Next one. Well, we still have a story of hope. Rattan Marine Park has been working with assisting reproduction in rattan, and they have, since 2023, they have the first predictive coral spawning calendar in Honduras, and this has helped to validate 9 species and assist 2 of these species to fertilize events. And they're being completely successful until now. And also, there's the communities can do a lot to do conservation. Icelander for Change is an initiative with youth in Utila and Rattan, and this program have helped them to certify as divers, and they have been trained to do monitoring restoration, and that way they can also be part of the conservation projects in these 2 sites in Honduras. So I pass to you, Mel.
All right, thank you, Claudia. So I guess, you can see from all of those presentations, different ways of looking at the data, it's definitely a mixed bag. We have some things to celebrate, some improvements, and some very worrisome trends with regards to the coral and the bleaching and the stony coral tissue loss disease, and just a lot more that we can do to keep working. We've been calling to action, that we've got the same call to action that we've had the last couple report cards. And in fact, this first one, the fully protect 20% of the sea and representative habitat. So that should include coral reefs and seagrass beds and mangroves. This has been called for in all of our report cards since the very first one in 2008. And we are moving up in the right direction, but it's just very slow. And so the pace of these threats and the degradation, it seems like it's getting really critical that we need to increase and catalyze the actions to happen faster to meet these threats, because those are getting worse. Investments in sewage treatment. This is mainly for municipalities and businesses. This is something that we've also been talking about for a really long time, and this is one of our main calls to action. And through the More Positive Invest project, we are finally getting some traction and getting some new ideas and work that we hope will lead to a lot of progress in this department. But that's something that definitely partnerships between municipalities, businesses, and NGOs can really accelerate that. Developments, trying to have sustainable development that helps communities but doesn't overdevelop is always a very difficult challenge, and one that we need to keep up front and center and try to help empower all of our partners to work on this in their communities by using the report card data. And finally, we've just added like the demand for the global community. This is like individual actions and actions that all countries, including the non-reef bearing countries that are the main polluters in terms of climate change, that we are now ultimately to the brink. We're at the precipice of having a situation where climate change will prevent the existence of reefs if we don't do something very soon and very substantial. So I think it's up to us to start making that call more loudly, and that was done at the COP. One of the sessions I attended was called The Last Stand for Coral Reefs, and everyone is really trying to draw attention to the fact that groups like our initiative within the Mesoamerican Reef, having all of these different organizations working together is the best thing that we can do, but we need to push to have the global community really get the climate change under control and get those get the teeth into the commitments. So they're not even really making the commitments in the COPs that need to be doing that. So I'll just finish with an invitation to everyone to go explore our new website. We renovated it and updated information and has a new look. Lots of all of our past report cards are there, the eco audits, news, and other project information that you can learn about. And so I'll just like to say thank you and see if we have any questions. We're happy to talk as long as people want to stay.
Thank you so much, Melanie, and the Healthy Reef for Healthy People team for our great presentation of the report card. We have some questions.
Probably some of the country coordinators can answer more, but in general, the Healthy Reefs team is just one person per country, but we work with the partner organizations. So what would normally happen is like the Healthy Reef coordinator would go to the different partner NGOs that work within the communities and would work with them to do an outreach program. If they use the report cards, we give boxes of report cards to the NGOs that have, live and place-based. They have outreach and they live in the coastal communities. And so they have whole teams of educators and things like that. So we work with our partners to do that. But if anybody has another thought.
Yeah. Also, just to add, we also give trainings to the communities. For example, easy trainings like coral bleaching, monitoring, we use the help of these communities to develop that monitoring. Like our Islander for Change, that's one example of that. So even us as Healthy Reef don't work directly with them, we do it through the partners and the co-management in the countries.
And I also see the comment that the other thing that I think we do, like we try to reach people directly through the media. So like these report card launches are, covered by the news media. So it's on like the nightly news in each country and the newspapers, it gets covered. So it gets the topic of reef conservation and what's going on with reefs in general gets into the mainstream media in the countries.
Yeah, thank you, Melanie. There's another comment. It says, just thinking if more people were aware, they could take the time to care. And also a question, education program through schools. Is there any?
Yeah, I think yeah, both of them are really good comments. And well, as my team said previously, we do use like the report cards, and we do work with our partner organizations that do have programs and education programs through the different schools here, for example, in Guatemala. So yeah, we are not, maybe not directly linked, but we are kind of linked to that through our partners as well, and through our all the things that we produce, being the report cards, but also other things, like for example here we also produce like the importance of coral reefs, even starting low, right? Just saying what is a coral reef and why is it important, and that got to also the coastal communities and also the communities that are in the basin of these watersheds that I was mentioning as well, which I think is important.
And I also want to add a little bit about Mexico. We also give a lot of talks in the universities and sometimes in other schools like high school or on other levels if we are requested to, but mainly we do a lot of work with universities. And also we participate in a lot of documentaries each year, and we also bring those documentaries to the communities and to the universities as well.
Thank you. We have a next question. It says, can you explain how water quality is monitored? I'm specifically interested in the Quintana Roo region.
Well, I guess Melina would normally take that one, but there is in the report card, it has a link to the water quality report. So it's a completely different report that gives you, it's there accessible, and you can read about where exactly all of the water quality data points, where it was taken. But in general, the design of the project was to look at areas that had high influence by tourism and areas that had less influence by tourism, and then having areas that were on the beach and areas that were on the reef, and kind of looking at that as the range of areas you would expect to have, higher levels of maybe enterococcus or even nutrients. So that was the design, and it was done about 2 years ago, and it was 1 year of sampling, and it was a project with Coral Reef Alliance. And water quality samples were taken. There was some oceanographic parameters taken in situ, and then samples were taken and sent to, in Mexico, it was like an accredited lab. So they were just run as regular water quality samples. So, but unfortunately, that was a limited project, so we don't have ongoing data for that. We have that 1 year of sample. So.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. We don't seem to have more questions, and I don't know if you want to make any last remarks. And
well, I just want to thank everyone for coming. I know it's, it's always kind of weird when you can't see everyone, but we know you're out there, and thank you for the interest. please download the report, share the report, and yeah, remember to fix those little errata on your paper copies when you get them. Sorry about that. Yeah.
Well, thank you again, Melanie. Do you
Yes,
have-
and that's a good comment that just came in. I see about seminars with the travel. Yeah, we've done some of that, and I think the outreach effort is going to continue next year. And definitely, the coordinators will be looking at tourism outlets. And I think Melina did a really great one with some hotels in Quintana Roo. So it's a good, like, tourism associations, dive guide associations. We definitely need to reach them, not just our partners, but really work with the industry. So that's a good point. So thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you again. And we invite all of you to also again download the report card in the site. And also we invite you to fill our feedback that I'm gonna post again here, but I posted before. It will be very helpful. And if you have any other comments, also you can leave the comments in the websites. And also they will be answered for you. So thank you again, and we will see you in our next webinar. Bye.